Shavua Tov, Chag Sameach, Israel Briefers from me, Rolene Marks, on this absolutely historic day here in Israel. Welcome to the Israel Brief, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines right here in the Holy Land, and we do it every Monday to Thursday. And we do it in connection with these guys, Lay of the Land. Now, it is an absolutely historic day in Israel, and as a working journalist, it is also an extremely busy day. So I'm going to try and get through the events of today as quickly as possible. Today is day 738 since the start of the Iron Swords War, since the attack of the 7th of October. Now, what is interesting on this extremely auspicious day is that tonight we start to mark the end of Sukkot, which here in Israel we do one day, and we also mark on the same day Simchat Torah. Now, if you recall, on October the 7th, 2023, Hamas attacked on a holy Jewish day, not just the Sabbath, but they attacked on a holy Jewish day, which was Simchat Torah. And we have closed effectively the circle since that horrific Black Sabbath. Now, what is also interesting is that today is day 738. 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. 18 in Jewish numerology means Chai, and Chai means life. So if ever you doubted that the hand of God sat above this country and the Jewish people, today is ample proof. And I remind you, we have 28 hostages we are waiting to come home. So let's take a look at the events of the day, and you'll understand why I have said what I've just said. And I can tell you that I don't think any of us slept last night. We were filled with anticipation and also filled with trepidation for today, a day we anticipated the release of our hostages. Now, at the time of recording this, it is almost 4 p.m. And what has transpired today is that at about 8 o'clock this morning, 7 hostages, living hostages, were released from Gaza, were released by Hamas, handed to the Red Cross, who once again only have seen these hostages when they act as glorified Uber drivers. And from then, those 7 were taken to the IDF meeting point, where they were handed into the hands of our noble and brave soldiers and then brought into Israeli territory. Unbelievable scenes at Hostages Square in Tel Aviv. Thousands, tens of thousands who had been gathering there since midnight last night in a vigil of celebration to welcome home our hostages. Then at about 10 a.m., just as President Trump was arriving, where he addressed the Knesset a little earlier in what has to be probably one of the longest speeches I have ever heard, but I'm going to get to that in a moment. The other 13 living hostages, again, this time from the south of Gaza, were handed to the International Red Cross, and again, the same mechanism given to the IDF and then transported into Israel. So as we stand, there are no known living hostages in the Gaza Strip. 20 living hostages have been returned to us, and it is indescribable, the scenes of jubilation, of reunification, of just joy around this country as our beloved brothers have been returned to us. Now, what has happened is that they will have preliminary checks at the Re'im base in the south, that is very close to Kibbutz Re'im and that whole area where the Nova Party was, where the attacks took place on the 7th of October, and where they met members of their family, and they were then transported via helicopter to various hospitals around the country, where they will be united with even more of their family members, and of course go through those very important medical checkups, psychological assessments, and will probably stay in the hospitals accompanied by their families and loved ones until they are ready to be discharged. Absolute jubilation. The hostages, as we've seen, some of very thin hostages like Avi Natan Or and Ram Braslavsky, who I was so thrilled to see walking on his own 2 feet. Also very thin Eviatar David, thin but okay, all walking on their own 2 feet, which it's impossible to put into words what this means to all of us. Not a dry eye in any house, any building across this country. But what about the rest of the 28? Now, very concerning is that there are 2 names that were not included amongst the living. Bipin Joshi, who is a Nepalese national, who we have no idea what his fate is, and Tamir Nimrodi, also Israeli, and we don't have any idea what his fate is. So a lot of concern about Tamir and about Bipin, and also concern about when we are going to start to receive the deceased hostages. These are hostages that were either murdered on the 7th of October and their remains taken into the Gaza Strip, or were murdered in captivity, with the exception of Hadar Golden, a soldier who fell during Operation Protective Edge in 2014, his remains being held for over 11 years. Now, the Hostages and Missing Persons Forum releasing a statement earlier on saying they're concerned that we will only get 4 bodies back today. Hamas have said that they don't think they'll locate all the bodies by this morning's deadline, and an international task force has been set up, including the US, Israel, the Egyptians, as well as Turkey and Qatar, to help locate other remains. Now, we might not know who the remains are, because they will then, as soon as they are handed over to the IDF, they will undergo a military ceremony, and then they will be taken to Abu Kabir, to the Forensic Institute here in Israel, where they will be tested. We can't forget, first of all, that each coffin is stringently checked for any explosives or booby traps. And we also can't forget what happened with the exchange of Shiri Bibas. We did not get Shiri Bibas's body back. It was the body of an unidentified Palestinian woman, and we had to wait for Shiri to be returned so that we could lay her to rest. So this is what we are currently dealing with. Now, in parallel to that, President Trump, along with other dignitaries, including his Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and others, landed in Israel this morning. The president had working meetings with Prime Minister Netanyahu and then met with survivors and the families of hostages before he addressed the Knesset a short while ago. An incredible honor to have the president of the US, no matter what your personal opinions are, here in the country. In his speech, Prime Minister Netanyahu thanked President Trump for being the greatest friend to Israel and said that he is nominating him to receive the Israel Prize, which is the highest prize in Israel, and he would be the first non-Israeli to receive that. Last night, President Herzog announced that he will be awarding President Trump the Presidential Medal of Honor. And various members of Knesset, as well as the hostage families, have nominated President Trump for a Nobel Prize. And Israel's Speaker of the Knesset, Amir Ohana, said that they will rally other countries to do the same. Meanwhile, speaking at the Knesset, Prime Minister Netanyahu offered out a hand of peace to any nation who wants to make peace with Israel. And US President Donald J. Trump then took the plenary at or addressed the plenary rather at the Knesset and spoke for a long time, speaking about the victories between the two countries, the strong relations between the two countries, the incredible heritage that is Israel, and also about the prospects of peace, as well as addressing just how emotional and important it is to have returned the hostages. Now, along with our feelings of incredible joy today, we are also bracing for what will be very painful images as we receive our deceased hostages back. Now, also interesting today, it leaked that the president of Indonesia could have possibly visited Israel as soon as tomorrow. Now, apparently, the Indonesians are very upset that this leaked and have denied that this meeting was scheduled to take place. Another interesting development is that during the working meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, they spoke to Egyptian President al-Sisi. This is the first time in 2 years that President al-Sisi and Netanyahu have spoken. Sisi invited the Prime Minister to Sharm el-Sheikh later today for the official signing of the ceasefire. However, we are on the eve of Chag, we're on the eve of Simchat Torah, and unfortunately the Prime Minister will not be able to go. But you can really feel in Israel that we have a sense of a new dawn, a new day, a willingness to make peace in our region. Now, we did have a few upsets today with 2 members of the Knesset from the Arab factions who disrupted the president's speech and held up a sign that said recognize Palestine and shouted out genocide. They were hustled out very quickly. But for Israelis, we are focusing forward. The returning of our hostages for us means an opportunity to start the healing process. I don't think we are ever going to recover, not for generations, from the atrocities of the 7th of October and the particular kind of depravity carried out. But for us, we're looking to start the healing, that we can feel our pain of that day and of 2 years of war alongside our moving forward and looking for a place to heal. And I just want to take this moment again to thank all of you. You have walked beside us through this journey, and you continue to stand with us, to hold our hands. And I think together, Israel and all our friends out there, we will accomplish incredible things. And I look forward to sharing all of this every single day with you here on the Israel Brief. And it brings me to a question that I have from one of our viewers. His name is Leon. He's in Port Elizabeth in South Africa. And he says, what do you think of all the people who are angry about this ceasefire? Well, isn't it ironic? And I think I might have addressed it last week. Leon, you know, the jig is up with all of them. Because now we know, first of all, they're now very easy to identify. And we know now that this was never about the Palestinians. This was never about wanting peace. This was wanting the destruction of the state of Israel. And anyone who is objecting to this ceasefire now, to the returning of our hostages, are anti-peace. And those of us with Judeo-Christian values, those of us with values of peace, from all religions, whether you are Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu or Jewish or Christian or atheist or whoever, this is our time to look forward, and this is our time to focus on peace. And as President Trump said last week, blessed are the peacemakers. And I'm telling you on the Israel Brief today that those who don't want peace will be left behind. They will be left behind in a world of misery and in a world of war, while the rest of us will build together a world we can be proud of. So guys, that's it from me for today. There won't be a brief tomorrow because it is Simchat Torah, but I will join you again on Wednesday. In the meantime, please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. Please click that red subscribe button. We are on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, Substack at Rolene Marks, Instagram at Rolene_Marks, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. Guys, God bless you all. What a happy, happy day here in Israel. I'm returning back to work and I will see you again on Wednesday. Chag Sameach. Bye for now.